I'm going to give it a few seconds before we begin, as everyone is joining. All right. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us today for our webinar, introducing IMO Precision Normalize with NLP. Before we get started, I want to take care of a few items for those attending. First off, this webinar is being recorded and it will be available to you for viewing after the webinar. Please note that anytime during this discussion, you can put your questions and answers into the question chat on the bottom of your screen. Today, we are joined by Andre Namirad, he's the VP of Corporate Strategy here at IMO, and Akash Chakravarti, he's the Group Product Manager, both at IMO. With all this being said, I'm going to kick it on over to Andre.
Thanks, Jerry. So team, I'm not going to say anything revolutionary in this first section. We're going to talk a little bit about healthcare data challenges that I'm sure you're seeing within the industry, both on the structured and the unstructured side of the equation. As you all know, healthcare has data problems within the pipelines and within the operational organizations dealing with data today. Data capture at the point of care is disparate. There's a lot of different source systems creating content in a lot of different ways, be they a patient intake operation or a laboratory information system or an EMR itself. And as that data is being captured, a lot of times it gets sent downstream through the pipes in a lot of disparate ways. Vendors might be sending data only to adhere to the minimum accepted requirements of transmission information. And as it gets into the aggregate layer, it permeates a problem in data that puts it on the shoulders of data aggregators and data stewards to plug the holes. And as organizations are trying to plug the holes, it could lead to critical gaps and inconsistencies. And this is wholeheartedly present within the structured side as well as the unstructured side of the equation. And if you're an organization that wants to do data quality insights, or you want to cohort query on your patient populations for any bespoke use case, if you have bad data in, then you're wholeheartedly going to have bad data out. And one of the key fabric points of data provenance in this whole ecosystem is complex web of terminology and terminology standardization. If you're not doing it correctly, these challenges are always going to be permeating throughout your whole ecosystem. And IMO did a recent research survey to a lot of our participants across all of our contract entities. And we asked the question, how many of you believe that data issues are a major threat within your organization? And 45% of them said yes. It is a major threat, quantifying it majorly. And the second operation insights in here is like, well, quantify that risk to us. Are you losing money? And 90% admitted to saying, yes, I'm losing revenue either by FTE operations or because of revenue loss of queries into measurement operations or into just rev cycle operations themselves. And this is a problem that we all know to be present within the industry, right? And to give you guys a little bit of a snapshot of what further leads to the problem, not just on the semantic and syntactic understanding of data points, but also coding appropriately. And these are always going to be moving targets in accuracy, relevancy, and precision and recall on your patient populations. If you're not taking into consideration not only just the target code set you're looking for, so right, if you're creating a data pipeline to find ICD-10 codes, you might just have to keep up these codes up to date. But as you're trying to deal with different user persona types that might have requirements or needs or access to other kinds of code sets, you have to take into consideration the clinician's voice or the data originator's voice and the intent of that data. And that's a moving target of immense proportions across all user persona types and all different data governance operations. And again, not saying anything revolutionary here, we know these are problems. So as we think about questions maybe to ask you guys, especially around unstructured data, how is your organization leveraging free text or unstructured healthcare data today?
Thanks, Andre. Yeah, so are you not using unstructured data? Are you extracting information manually? You're currently using NLP, and you're exploring ways to deploy NLP technology. I'm going to give it a few seconds and then I'll close it out. All right. So it looks like 50% they're exploring ways to deploy NLP technology.
Excellent. Well, team, as you think about answering some of those questions today, as you think about understanding different NLP use cases that are out there, you might have been going down this homegrown solution path, right? You might have used Apache CTAKes and injected it with NLMs, Metathesaurus to help in entity recognition, but you're realizing that a lot of those out-of-the-box clinical entity recognition solutions that are out there require a significant amount of investment to build domain expertise. You're always going to be dealing with this one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many correlation problem, and that's a pain in the butt. So you're probably looking then for vendor solutions and true solutions that are out there too. But you're probably realizing that a lot of them have been focusing their efforts on one specific kind of use case or one specific kind of data pipeline, like claims data. And furthermore, if you're trying to integrate the solution with any kind of software application, it's very difficult to integrate the tech. You feel like you're jumping out of your workflow to do work and then copying and pasting that data operation back in. And overall, this seems to, depending upon the user persona type that you're trying to engage in, often falls short in success of the requirement. And furthermore, as you're trying to understand acronyms, eponyms, abbreviation, time delineation, negation, or specialty dependence, right? If I'm a cardiologist, MI to me might mean something completely different than if I'm a pediatrician. MI might mean mitral incompetence. So understanding, again, syntactic, semantic, and understanding of your patient populations is extremely important when you keep the clinician and the patient at the center of care in your data operations for especially structured and unstructured data. So you're probably asking yourself, that's great. I know all these problems, right? But why IMO? What is this three-letter acronym that's probably out there? And I would say it's actually healthcare's best kept secret to help address these data problems. So IMO, just to let you guys know, we've been around for about 30 years, and we've been dealing with this semantic, syntactic, and coding appropriately problem in the industry for quite a long time. About 85% of the US healthcare market uses IMO as a foundation terminology, foundation dictionary used in those source systems. Even though I'm saying over here about almost 400 people work for the company today, about 60% of those people are knowledge experts. They're the folks that are actually creating, maintaining clinicians, coders, billers, informaticists, board certified informaticists. These are people that you can trust in the ecosystem. But we also spend a boatload of money making sure that third parties also review our content too. So as you think about that layer of terminology support that understands semantic, syntactic, and coding appropriately, that is exactly what IMO can do behind the scenes. And so in doing so, IMO has actually helped a lot of our software application vendors at the point of care create point of care solutions that meet and exceed the clinician's experience, right? As long as the end user doesn't feel like they're jumping out of the system, we've been successful. A lot of people don't know that they're using IMO behind the scenes, but they wholeheartedly are. And as we now marry those kinds of point of care workflow solutions with data quality management solutions that deal with both structured, unstructured, as well as cohort identification management solutions, we are now leaning pretty heavily into supporting that area, especially after our recent acquisition of Melax Technologies. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a second here. So as you think about reorienting your aperture on IMO's support for this kind of ecosystem, IMO's Precision Normalize product deals with structured data, right? If I have a term and a code, if I have just an 837 claims feed and all I got is an ICD-10 code, or if I have a term and I don't know what codes I'm looking for, IMO's Precision Normalize will take a look at the input operation, keep it as it was, so we're not changing anything, but we'll give you additional alignment to the IMO nomenclature, which will also have a secret decoder ring to all of the codes behind the scenes. So you're keeping that content up to date on a regular basis. Now, Melax Tech is a recent acquisition, and I'll talk about them in a second here, but marrying that leading terminology management and maintenance service with the industry's leading silently tracked NLP solution that's out there too, really makes a marriage made in heaven in a differentiated solution to help bridge the gap between structured and unstructured data. Marrying that also then with, now I want to query on my patient population. So great example, if I wanted to do a cancer survivorship care plan query and say, show me on stage 2 and stage 3 patients, don't show me stage 1 or stage 4. That query is exceptionally hard to do when you look at just the codes. But when you think about the stitched together solution of all 3 of these products to help support your kind of use cases and any new ones that you might come up with into the future, but also maintaining the intent of that data, that's exactly what IMO is doing behind the scenes. But I'm going to focus a little bit more on this middle layer. And you're probably wondering, well, like, that's great, IMO. I might know you, but I have no idea who the heck Melax Tech is. Well, very similar to the situation that IMO has been, we're the best kept secret in managed terminology services behind the scenes. Melax Tech has slowly become the best kept secret in competitive international NLP challenges across the world. And they've usually identified themselves and have won competitions in both a 1 or 2 ranking position in biomedical information extraction. And so as you think about all of the different competitions that they've entered themselves into, but furthermore, gain the trust of well over 650 academic organizations across the world, we've truly married together the best kept secret in structured data with the best kept secret in unstructured data. And as you think about that kind of key differentiation going into addressing your bespoke data pipeline needs, we're best positioned to help support your requirements. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to my colleague Akash to get a little bit more. Getting into the structured side of the equation. IMO Precision Normalize deals with how you're dealing with data at a structured side of the equation, right? It might have a term with a code, right? If I just have lab data, great example of this. You might not have any codes attached to it. Or if I have a terminology operation at the point of care that might be only adhering to that minimum acceptance criteria of transmission, IMO can help recolorize that data behind the scenes even better. So don't take our word on it on the structured side of what IMO Precision Normalize can accomplish. CDC actually did a case study on IMO in this kind of ecosystem of recolorizing for specificity and accuracy on patient populations. Without IMO, they realized that for coronary artery disease and heart failure events, you can probably find patients about 57 to 60% accuracy. But with IMO, there is greater than 99% accuracy on it. So don't take our word on it. Somebody else loves doing studies on IMO. We'd love to do the Pepsi challenge with anybody else who's interested too. So now with that in mind, I'll pass it off to my colleague, Akash.
Thanks, Andre. So before I delve into the product features, I wanted to talk a little bit about NLP because a lot of the words like AI, machine learning, NLP keep getting used interchangeably. So on the next slide, you'll see a graphic which conveys that, AI is a much bigger space. Machine learning is a part of it, and deep learning is a subset of machine learning. NLP is a combination of both machine learning, deep learning, as well as computational linguistics. It is a field that focuses on language understanding and generation, whereas machine learning and deep learning are sort of the tools that make this possible. As you can imagine, NLP is very challenging because language itself can be very ambiguous, it's personal, as well as it's very variable. So a great example is if you've played around with ChatGPT, it takes a lot of prompting to get a reasonable response. So how is IMO addressing this challenge? On the next slide, as Andre mentioned before, Melax Tech is one of the best kept secrets in sort of like the unstructured data, clinical data world, and is used at around 650 organizations around the country. So Melax delivers proven tools for natural language processing that improve the value and usability of unstructured clinical data. We are taking Melax Tech's deep technical expertise in NLP and combining that with IMO's industry-leading clinical terminology. So IMO has the largest thesaurus of words, combination of words, acronyms, misspellings, and comprehensive code mappings. So by combining these two capabilities, we are offering an NLP engine with unmatched ability to identify post-coordinated expressions, connect clinical concepts across related entities. So on the next slide, I'll go over some of the capabilities of the IMO Precision Normalize with NLP product. For the past few years, we've heard from our customers the need to apply the capabilities of our existing IMO Precision Normalize product to unstructured text. So we've developed a product that enhances the existing IMO Precision Normalize with add-on natural language processing capabilities. So how does this product work? At a high level, the product extracts comprehensive clinical information from unstructured data. It identifies relationships across the related entities. It detects a variety of contextual metadata, including temporal objects, negation, body location, and we'll dive into that in detail here in a little bit. And in addition to all these product capabilities, we are also providing flexible deployment options. So one being an IMO hosted option, where IMO manages the infrastructure of the product in our environment. And the other deployment option is a self-hosted option that allows customers the ability to use our product in their environment. So along with all the product capabilities, we are also providing flexible deployment options. So on the next slide, we have a visual of the NLP product. So as you can see in this animation, NLP product gives customers the ability to unlock value from free text data by standardizing and codifying this data, the text, into problem, procedure, medication, and lab domains. On the next slide, I want to point out another problem that we are solving with this product, which is scalability. So we have incorporated a rich terminology, which includes 5 million plus clinical terms and code mappings into this product. Additionally, we can process large volumes of data to reduce the administrative burden on our customers, which comes with cleaning and standardizing disparate patient data. So you can process large data sets using the normalized NLP API, which can handle around 40 requests per minute. So how does the product work? So let's dive into that. And on the next slide here, we have highlighted the 3 steps, high-level steps that the product uses. So step 1, we are using a robust normalized NLP endpoint to ingest and process the data that you send us. The next step is having the ability to understand the data using our proprietary models. And step 3 is making the data useful by relating it to standard code sets. Let's go into each of these steps in detail. So on the next slide, you'll be able to see that the NLP product can ingest data from unstructured clinical notes via a single API call. So we have simplified it, and you can use a single API call to ingest and process the data. We can process text data from clinical notes like patient history and physical notes and discharge summary narratives. Right now, the product is offered as an API, but we are working on a user interface, which will be launched in mid-August. So the next couple of slides that you'll see show the user interface, but all the features that we will discuss today are available via API as well. So let's look at the entities that we can recognize for each domain. So for the problem domain, we can identify negation terms within that particular domain. So an example here would be, let's say the patient intake note said something like the patient does not have diabetes or the patient denies a cough. So that would be an example of negation. Severity is used to identify the level of acuity of the concept. Then we also have uncertainty, which is a form of assertion status that is used to help the user determine if a term should be added to a patient's record or not. An example of uncertainty within the clinical domain would be the mention of the patient possibly having a headache or some sort of disorder. Body location identifies the body site of the term, and we also have temporal information, which identifies time intervals relating to extracted entities. For the procedure domain, we can identify negation of a term as well as temporal information. And the medication domain, we can identify routes for medication entities, form, dosage, strength. And for the lab domain, we can identify negation, lab value, as well as temporal information. On the next slide, let's go a little bit into the step 2 of the process. So now that we have ingested and processed the data, we can start to understand it. Another feature of the product is clinical concept extraction. We extract clinical concepts from unstructured text using name entity recognition, and we group these entities by domain. So in this example here, the text underlined is an extracted entity. Once an entity is extracted, the product groups these entities by domain. And in this example, you can see the 4 domains: problem, procedure, medication, and lab. On the next slide, we will take this a step further. The product will also map the extracted entities to IMO terms. So as you can see here, the first column of the screenshot, each entity that was extracted will be mapped to IMO terms. We extracted the entity dry cough and normalized that term to non-productive cough based on the IMO dictionary. This is where the power of IMO's industry-leading terminology comes into play. And as Andre mentioned before, we have a dedicated team of clinicians and data scientists who are constantly working on enhancing these terms and concepts. Now, the fun doesn't end there. After the NLP entity is mapped to an IMO term, we also map them to standard code sets like ICD-10, SNOMED, etc. So if we go to the next slide, thanks. So in this example, the unstructured text had stage 2 chronic kidney disease, and that was taken from the unstructured text. And we were able to return results and code mappings to the ICD-10, CME, and the N category code. So this is, again, one of the key benefits of the product here. We're not just stopping at standardizing the data. We are taking this a step further and also providing associations with various code sets. Now, one of the things that I also want to point out is that you've seen all these like squiggly lines in the text that show up when you use our product. So if we go to the next slide, we can discuss another feature of the product, which is the assertion status. So we apply assertion status logic, which can tell the user if the entity is present, possible, or absent based on the context surrounding that term. For example, the context here would be the patient denies chest pain, which implies a negation. So therefore, that entity will return with an absent assertion status. So moving on to the next slide, I want to show another feature, which is the section header. The product extracts the section header for each entity. So examples of the section headers that we can identify are chief complaint, history of present illness, social history, and there are other examples listed on the slide. So we have the ability to extract section headers, which are definitely very important when making sense of some of these notes. If we move on to the next slide, you'll see the other feature of the product is temporal information. So we can identify time frame intervals between entities. So in this example, we're showing that we extracted that the patient had DEPACAT level of 57, and this was on June 4th. So we do have the ability to extract temporal information from clinical text. On the next slide, I want to close out with the key feature that I already talked about, sort of our product's ability to associate entities to code sets. This slide shows the standard clinical terminology code sets that are included in our product. And again, we have a dedicated clinical team and team of data scientists that continuously work to add more code sets. So this list will only grow in the future, and as we release more releases for our product. So on the next slide, I want to close out by mentioning that our mission is to provide our customers with meaningful insights. And meaningful insights start with quality data. So IMO's NLP product can extract clinical concepts from free text and provide contextual metadata. We have built this product on IMO's dictionary of 5 million terms. We update our content 5 times a year so that our customers can stay compliant with all regulatory requirements. And to provide our customers with additional value, we map the extracted entities to all major coding systems. And we are able to do this at scale. We can process about 300,000 terms per minute while giving customers flexible deployment options. So you can either host the product in your environment or have IMO host it. So before we go into Q&A, I do have a question for you all, and we can launch the next poll here. So how do you plan to use unstructured data at your institutions? Jordan, do you want to walk us through the options here?
Yeah, so is it population health, clinical research, disease registries, or improving point of care workflows? I'll give it a few seconds and then we'll go on to Q&A. Okay, so it looks like improving point of care workflow and population health is kind of the winners there.
Awesome. Well, that's great information to know. And of course, we've been working on launching this product, and we'll continue to enhance it and continue to launch, and make the product applicable for bespoke use cases for all our customers. And with that, we'd like to open the floor for some Q&A, and I'll let Jordan facilitate that process.
Yeah. So thanks so much, Akash and Andre. So if you found today's webinar valuable, or if you have any questions going into it, type them into the questions section. Just please excuse any brief silence while we look at the answers. So this is for either one of you, but one came in about, is IMO Precision Normalize with NLP an enhancement of the on-market IMO Precision Normalize solution?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. So we have the Precision Normalize product, which is already in the market and in use, and we are enhancing the existing product with NLP capabilities. So our customers can use the entire package for structured as well as unstructured text and data sets.
Does Normalize NLP have OCR capability to convert PDFs and fax images into text?
Yes, we do have capabilities to take, fax documents and scan them and use OCR capabilities and, extract text from different types of files.
Excellent. And I see a question over here of how is the NLP model secured? Akash, do you want to take that? Or do you want me to take it?
You can take a stab at it. I can chime in.
Sure. And so team, there's varying levels of security requirements, organization to organization. Just know that IMO does have security protocols for both the cloud-based hosting as well as on-prem hosting operations too. So if you have any specifics, please reach out to our team. We'd love to address your question directly.
Does Normalize NLP have a way to de-identify clinical narratives of PHI and PII as a pre-processing step?
Yes, we do. We have, proprietary models that, again, can do the pre-processing work and de-identify data before you feed it into the NLP engine.
And I do see a couple of questions over here that are coming through, team. And I know we're getting close to time, but if anybody has any very specific questions, please reach out to our team. On our website, there's a contact us page. I would love to get as much specific on your requirements here too. And one of the questions, as an example, does IMO offer any major EMRs and embedded IMO Melax option? The answer is very much coming soon, as well as the ability to identify suspect HCCs for risk adjustment coding and discovering data based upon structured and unstructured understanding. And I see one question over here. Is this product part of current offerings? It is. It's in production. Please reach out to us. We'd love to better understand your guys' NLP use cases. Because again, an NLP is not NLP is not NLP. A data pipeline requirement that you guys might have might be something completely different, internationally than it is in the United States. So please talk with us. We'd be more than happy to address it. And great question on the idiom side of Michigan versus MI, understanding localizations, requirements, context, negation, time delineation are all part of the operation here too. I would love to better understand your guys' needs and what kind of data you're seeing.
All right. It looks like we are going to go ahead and close out. For any questions that weren't answered, we'll go ahead and follow up with you after this presentation. But we hope you found everything useful in today's presentation. If you have any questions or want to learn more about IMO Precision Normalize with NLP, please email your client executive at sales@imohealth.com, or you can visit us on our website at imohealth.com as well. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.